Welcome to issue 17 of Setting Sun Last Day's Evening News. If you'd like to add or remove your name from the mailing list, email hrministries2@yahoo.com. And if you'd like to check out the content on Facebook, it's Hannah Ruth 961. If you're not a Facebook member, you can still access via the link. If you email hrministries2@yahoo.com, I can send you the link plus the PDF document. But I do recommend joining Facebook if you're not a member. It's a free user-friendly service, and then you've got access to all of Hannah Ruth Ministries site, but that one link will get you the access of all issues to date of Setting Sun, issues 1 through 17. So once you've got that link, you can just check in bi-monthly if you're not a Facebook member. This issue is basically following on from the last issue, 16 feature essay. In that issue was improving with age versus death and decay, which was inspired by 3 women heckling me as a Jesus slut, and so it was something that I couldn't let go, because like in 2 Corinthians, Paul was forced to basically defend his own character when he was being disparaged as not fit to be an apostle. It was necessary to face his detractors for reason that the ministry, the reputation of the ministry of the gospel of Jesus Christ was at stake. So likewise, when people love to believe the worst in people, so when people start trying to turn a cattle stampede against you, and you're trying to just uphold the gospel of Jesus Christ, and he has called me as an ensign to show forth his glory of how he has mercy on vile, wretched sinners like what I was in my youth, then I've got to defend the gospel for Christ's name's sake. My own reputation got shot many years ago. However, I'm still there on the front line for and on the stretch for the Lord, because what he has done in my life, he can do in anyone's life. It's a testimony of hope to those who are willing to open their ears and open their eyes to see that what God could do with me, he could do with them too. So the 3 women who heckled me, which inspired issue 16, they were all overweight, all 3 of them, even though they were good-looking women. So that prompted me to do the last issue's essay on improving with age versus death and decay, because at 58 I was able to show a collage on page 2 of issue 16, where from age 19 through to 58, I had improved and looked the best that I've ever looked. Yet I used to be killing myself on drugs and alcohol and 30 cigarettes a day. So that's on page 2 of issue 16. It's age 19, I was thin on speed, amphetamines. Age 20, I was fat on beer, when I was leaning on beer and food to go straight off drugs. Age 21, I was doing a little flex with my new muscles that I was getting from labouring on council. And then age 23 was photo 4, where I had won a bench press competition, female bench press competition at a Gary Stridham night. And then age 58 was doing a flex again, directly under the photo of my 21-year-old little puny muscle flex. But I had definitely improved over the years, all these decades later, instead of how I would look now if I had still been destroying myself, if I had even lived. I mean, I was very extreme, and there is a lot of extremism in this day and age, but especially just obesity was the main thing that I was focusing on for that issue 16, and again for this issue 17, because it really is a plague, I believe, a plague as part of the end time judgment, where if you look back in old black and white movies, there was not that problem of obesity like what we have now. And it's only really this last 60 or 70 years since the sex and drug revolution that people have just gone to pot, because it was, just do what thou wilt, we can just break off the shackles and all be, libertines sort of thing. And the bottom line is that we reap what we sow. So that was the main crux of what I was getting at with issue 16, is that we can either improve with age, and it's never too late to start, or we can just self-destruct and end up just a slobby nation like what we are now. And the whole world, like I pointed out, even Asians who used to be very petite, are now plumping out, and just as Western nations, especially America, Australia, and even Londoners are just plump little, well, eating hormone-laden food stuff. You can't expect to not get plump when you're eating lots of fatty meats that are pumped up with hormones and whatnot. So this issue, last issue 16, it was bringing a word of correction. Like I say, I needed to take a stand to nip that in the bud so that it wouldn't just spread like a canker and the cattle stampede all turn against me, and now, oh, Auntie Hannah's just Jesus slut sort of thing. I thought, no, this is wrong. And I needed to shine the spotlight on them and say, if I'm a slut, when I've been celibate 30 plus years, and now it's 31 plus years, and they are sexually active, and if I am keeping my temple holy and clean, whereas they are clearly indulging fleshly dictates, which is obvious to the unfeigned eye. I mean, you've only got to look at people today to see all the tattoos and the slobbiness and the grunginess and whatnot. People are showing forth what's in their heart, their heart condition. Those women were well dressed and clean looking, like they had blonded hair and makeup and long skirts and heels and whatnot. But as I pointed out, that's just like what Jesus said of the Pharisees, that are whitewashed tombs full of dead men's bones. People can dress it up on the outside, but the corrupt nature of their heart spoke through when they heckled me, totally unprovoked, when I was just walking home from doing my Friday night posties wearing my tracksuit. And so I had to point out, well, what does that make them then? If I'm a slut and I'm living so clean as what I am now, what does that make them then? And so, as I pointed out, in a word, just hypocrites, which Jesus came very strongly against hypocrites. Generally, he didn't bother defending himself, but when it came to Phariseeism, like in Matthew chapter 23, he really gave those a slog, because it made him angry that they were not entering into the kingdom of heaven, and they were preventing others from entering in who would otherwise enter in. Well, shortly after publishing issue 16, a brother at church ministered from the pulpit, and he was saying that he didn't mention this ministry by name, but clearly the content of his talk was that he was feeling sad at seeing so many do's and don'ts being applied in this article that he'd recently read. And clearly what he was talking about was what I'd written in issue 16, improving with age versus death and decay. And he went on to say about how he likes his Maccas, and he's a well-eaten lad, quite big. But I've got no grief with him. I like him, and it made me sad that he had been saddened. And I thought, just sitting there listening to him saying what he was saying, I thought, because of the words, the toxic words of 3 witchy women that made me have to defend for the gospel's sake, now others are feeling hurt by that, because, like I say, obesity is a real main problem with a lot of people these days. My family has a real strain of obesity in it. I would be obese if God hadn't apprehended me in my youth. But I thought, this issue 17, I need to balance the scales. Issue 16 was bringing a word of correction, which was needful. So now issue 17 is bringing a loving word of counsel to try to encourage people. I'm not out to hassle anybody, but obviously I had to defend for the gospel's sake against just letting that blow out sort of thing. But so now, they've gone from, they can't call me a slut because I'm totally celibate for 31 years. So now they're going the old grandma routine. If it's not one thing or another, they'll try to disparage me in one way or other. But I'm aging very well, so I'm perfectly happy to age gracefully, and am looking forward to the grave, because that's where the real promotion comes, where we get raised incorruptible and get to see our Jesus face to face. And so I wouldn't swap places with anyone for quids. In the bottom line, God has been good to me, and I know this, so there's no way anybody's going to get in my head to do a bit of reverse psychology sort of thing. I know what I am and I know what I'm not. I know my strengths and weaknesses, so people may as well save their breath, because Auntie Hannah will not quit or shut up, because I've got a job to do. So this issue 17, the main essay is titled Back to Basics versus Progress, in inverted commas, because we've not made progress. We've so-called progressed too far now to ever go back. I mean, modern technology and just the knowledge and we are a information generation that can never go back to when we were just blissfully ignorant, unless you want to go live with religious cults that totally shut out electricity and all that sort of thing. But we are what we are as people, and we are in the last hour of the last days, I believe. So I'm just trying to do my little part to offer people hope, to not just settle for being a washout of a generation. People are dying young from obesity. When I used to go eat at Pizza Hut a lot, haven't eaten there now for over 4 years, since before COVID, but apparently the buffet is open again, so I might go check that out soon. But I used to go to Sizzler because they were a very healthy buffet. But I noticed even kids, 12 years old, would already be obese, had already be off to a bad start, just because of their parents and then their parents even. But so it's handed down generation after generation this last 60 or 70 years. But also because of the food stuff, like I say, you can't eat hormone-laden food and not plump out. But I thought, isn't that sad that children are getting off to a bad start? I see them 5, 6 years old and chubby kids, So how can they hope to have much of a head start in life if that's their beginning and they don't know any better? So I'm just trying to bring to attention that this issue 17, I actually did just a 2-photo collage with, but not in the actual newsletter. I just tacked it on to Facebook as an afterthought, because when I realised I couldn't produce the video at the same time, I thought, well, I'll publish the essay, the newsletter, issue 17 of Setting Sun, but I'll just have to hold off until I'm over this cold to make a video for Sunset 17. So instead, I put a photo, like 2 photos together in a collage, because as I said, if a picture speaks 1,000 words or two, then this collage will suffice to just sort of tell where I used to be in the interim of waiting for the video to come out. So it's just a photo of when I was 17 and I was working in gambling clubs, in card clubs, and my boyfriend dealt, at that time he was a Macedonian fella who dealt cards on the table, and on the tables at the club where I worked, and I was waitressing, just serving Turkish coffee and cleaning the ashtrays and serving toasted cheese sandwiches and that sort of thing, just keeping the men pepped up with coffee while they were gambling. And my boyfriend and I would work long night shifts, and so would my fella. And then we'd go carouse around the Sydney night spots when we'd knock off work, and just party on till dawn. And then I'd go crash out all day so that then I could go back to work at night time, work the night shift, then party on around the Sydney night spots and sleep all day. So I had a nocturnal lifestyle, and I literally was living off junk food. I did not have any idea of dieting or health food back then, and I wasn't eating breakfast or anything, just totally living a very trashy life and like self-destructive. And in all my photos back then, my eyeballs were always stoned, and I was just always off my face, because that was my lifestyle, and those that I hung out with, we all just lived on getting high. So I titled that collage literally called out of darkness into his marvellous light, because I was living a nocturnal lifestyle, and then God forced me into the workaday world after I moved back to Blue Mountains to live with my parents in 1983 when I was 18. I was just happily strung out with my druggy mates, and all of us on the dole. And suddenly I got made to, because I was on the dole, I had no option. I was made to choose a 2-week scheme to break unemployment. So I picked, having no option, I picked gardening, thinking I'd get to mow a lawn or two, but instead it was laying brick paver driveways, very sweat of your brow type deal. So it was very, very hard work. So I instantly got thrown from, a smoky, seedy lounge room, always sitting in the dark sort of thing, just stoned out of my eyeballs, to suddenly having to work out in the hot, sizzling summer sun in January 1984, early 84. And it totally turned the tables, where that was the beginning of God transforming my life from a nocturnal lifestyle. So I said nocturnal to eternal. And transforming me from a prodigal teen to a prodigy handmaid of God, where my life is totally different now. But just after I published issue 16, I watched a DVD where there was a forum, a half-hour forum of health experts discussing 8 different principles of health. And I thought, well, that would be ideal, very timely, to make issue 17 to give some loving counsel now to those that may be feeling, that I'm banging you over the head with a hammer or something. I'm just trying to be helpful, actually. Like, it was necessary to bring correction issue 16. But this issue 17, I want to make it perfectly clear. I'm not trying to be legalistic or anything like that. So for the archives section, I've actually done well-balanced diet versus weak faith, which is originally published in issue 63. And then so just showing that we don't need to obsess over food stuff, because our salvation is nothing to do with, what we eat or drink or that sort of thing. But it is the temple of God, so we do have a stewardship onus on us to exercise good stewardship of our temple, because like God said, we are the temple of God, and any man who defiles the temple shall be judged for it. And basically, we reap what we sow too. So if you don't want to hit an early grave through obesity, because it is killing people young, then we need to take better care and have a health consciousness at least. And so the other archives essay is Temperance versus White Lies from issue 57 of Two-Edged Sword, where that's just going back to what the Bible says about alcohol. So that I'm just trying to show I'm not trying to be legalistic here. I am actually very well balanced in anyone who really has a understanding ear towards what I put out. They would know that I strive to keep good balance. But I heard a couple of middle-aged women in the CBD here at Toowoomba just having a bit of good humour amongst themselves about, just as I was coming up behind them, I overheard them loosely paraphrased a line out of my issue 16 essay, Improving with Age versus Death and Decay, and then one of them quipped, in good humour, just quipped, we're simply not sportswomen. But so I, in good humour, quipped in this issue 17, but you don't need to be an Olympian just to take a daily walk. So basically, like I've said, modern man is simply prone to be lazy. And so I said lazy in capital letters because it's not. There's no big deal to taking, people, we are so geared to a feel-good, easy life now that we've totally lost sight of our health and fitness. And just doing good for our bodies. But it's just far easier to take the easy course of just feeling good, eating whatever we like, drinking whatever we like, lay around on the lounge, watch TV, just very unhealthy lifestyle. So I've given 2 examples of why it is important, and I've said I'm not trying to be obnoxious, but I am trying to stir up better interest than people just fobbing it off. We don't need to bother, we're just not sportswomen. Well, like I said, you won't feel so dandy if you find yourself stricken with diabetes, or in another couple of decades find yourself strapped to a walking frame, wheezing as you go, because that's becoming very common now to see. And I gave 2 examples of 2 untimely sort of deaths that were very unfortunate, and it's the sort of thing that happens to people if they don't watch out. So one was where I knew a really lovely lady who just lived the typical lifestyle of sitting around watching TV, drinking lots of coffee and tea and eating lots of foodies and that sort of thing. Well, she wound up with gangrene because she wasn't moving around enough. And when I met her, she'd had 2 toes removed from gangrene. But like I said, in the same way that sin is the disease that takes over man, that gangrene didn't stop at 2 toes. Eventually, a few years passed and she had to have a leg amputated. A few more years passed, she had to have the other leg amputated. Now she is no more. She's gone the way of all flesh, and she barely notched up her 10. So I said that's one incentive to get serious about health and diet now while you still can. And another example, I said, like, she got to die privately sort of thing, but I said it doesn't always happen out of the public eye. One fellow, when I was working on council, popped into health and development, I think it was, to do personal business, and he left his heart pills at home. And that would be to his detriment, because the next thing he fell to the floor, frothing at the mouth, turned blue in the face and died. and just like that. So it can happen very suddenly when you're out in public, and we all have to die, but we don't have any real control about how, when, or where. So I'm saying, wouldn't it at least give us peace of mind if we know that we're living our best at least, so that we are mitigating our mortal hazard, and because there is risks in life no matter how we live, and we can wrap up. And one fella in Blue Mountains died jogging at 49. So I mean, there's no guarantee that we'll live to a ripe old age anyway, but our times are in God's hands. But at least we would have peace of mind that it's not through our own neglect that we suddenly find ourselves among the millions that die in regret when they find themselves finally brought to ground and wishing they had done better and dying with regret. So, like I said too, people don't always necessarily die, and they may get to live through a humiliating ordeal. Like one conservative woman paid little heed to health until she had a stroke in the bathtub, and then had to go through the ordeal of ambulance coming for her and that sort of thing. She was a very conservative woman. So it's just all better off avoided if we simply take these 8 simple health steps, and most of which are totally free. Nutrition is about the only one that costs anything really, and because we've all got to eat, and unless you want to go live rural, everything's free. If you want to go live in a cave or live out in the country or something, then rainfall's free, the sunshine is free, sleep is free. So like I've said, the best things in life are free. So I'll just for sake of time here, I'll get on with listing these 8 principles of health, and also giving a few budgeting tips, because like I've said, I do feel for people who are currently in the couch potato syndrome, and that's the majority, in fact, and it's very daunting for them to suddenly look at the road ahead, and if they even attempt to try to take steps, they think, oh, it's just too much, there's no hope. So I'm trying to say, if there was hope for me, my testimony aims to stoke people to think maybe I can too, sort of thing, because my life is just miraculous, what all the turnaround, how God took me from one extreme, a minus, to a plus positive sort of thing. And if he could do that for me, he can do it for anybody, because God is no respecter of persons, and he specialises in wretches. So point 1 is sunlight, which is free. Nature offers a lot of goodies for those that are willing to take it, but you've got to do your part to make health happen. If you want to sit in a smoky, seedy lounge room like I used to, then that's where you will be, not even getting sunlight. And you become anemic, and we need sun to create vitamin D in our skin, and then that gives a healthy glow where you get this radiant, depending on your pigmentation, where there's a range of pigmentations, but even really pale people can still get some pinkish glow to their skin, and then there's your brownish range and olive, and then off into the dark browns and then the blacks, and but sunlight taken into the skin creates vitamin D no matter what our pigmentation colour, and then that gives a healthy sheen to our skin, and as opposed to just looking greasy and spotty and dirty and grubby. It shows through. Our lifestyle really does show through. So sunlight is number 1, where it's very therapeutic, and like the Bible says, pleasant to behold the sun. It really is. I went from the nocturnal lifestyle to now loving the great outdoors. I really do love to take my daily walks, and even got blessed to get given a horse. So back when I was in Blue Mountains, where I could further explore the wild. If we work with what we've got, it is amazing what God will give us to help us take the next step forward. But we have to take those first steps, and then God will lead us on. He's the good shepherd who will lead us on. So sunlight, if you do your bit to go get out in the sun. And one nutritionist said to me that skin cancer is not caused by sun. It is caused by substandard oils in the foods that we eat. So that's something to bear in mind. You don't need to be fearful of getting out there in the sun, but you do need to take caution to get out in the cooler times of day. Don't go out in the peak heat of daytime, because that will burn your skin. So look out to be, responsible. Don't go from one extreme to the other. Go out in the cooler times of morning and afternoon, and you'll benefit from that. because it will make you feel better. Like in countries where they get hardly any sunlight, with real minimal daylight, they suffer seasonally affected depression, SAD as they call it. And so they have to resort to using artificial sunlight through sun lamps and that sort of thing, and to try to combat depression and gloom from so much darkness. It'll make you feel so much better. If you're feeling depressed, go out into the sunlight. It will make you feel picked up. The next point is point 2, fresh air, which again, that is free. But sadly, we are polluting it. Like I say, we've progressed too far to ever go back. But this air is just being totally polluted with jet fumes, car exhaust, chimney stacks, industrial chimneys, and sprays of all kinds and pesticides and whatnot, and even just cigarette smokers are passing on their vice to others so that we become passive smokers. So thankfully smoking got banned indoors, but I mean it still affects the global concerns. So lately we've even, these last few years we've had carbon tax built into our tax systems because government trying to collect revenue to try to combat and try to make better ways of preserving the air sort of thing, our ozone and all that sort of thing. But I mean, we've just got loads and loads and loads of carbon going out into the air. The third point is water. So if you if at all possible, you might want to relocate and then commute if you have to commute for work in the city or whatever, catch a train in, just try to mitigate. I mean, we're in this world and there's risks and hazards all around us, but just there are ways of mitigating the hazards. And so if at all possible to relocate, like I did myself a real favour relocating from Woodridge down in Brisbane area to the mountain heights of Toowoomba, clean, fresh air in a landscape CBD. I have no trouble getting out there to take my 2 times 5 kilometre walkies every day because I love it. It feels good to walk. It's that adrenaline, I guess, that I got addicted to back in my early gym days. But I still love to walk. I love the feel of moving and the blood flowing. And I'm not trying to do any physical challenge by walking. I'm just out for prayer and meditation, actually. So I tend to stroll more than hike along. But if I feel energised, then I do go with the flow and hike along. But I mean, it feels good to move instead of just sitting there and getting lazy and passive and apathetic, and it just perpetuates. If you take that step of getting up and moving, you will start to build strength and stamina and endurance with these things. It progresses. So, take it from me, it's been one extreme to the other. It's a growing thing, and it will develop if you do your part and stick with it. So that's sunlight and fresh air. Point number 3, water. Again, that is free if you live out in the country where rainfall is free. But again, the average person living in suburbia, it has to pay for our water because government have to treat the water to make it drinkable, even just because of man sludging the supplies with our pollutants. So, and also for the convenience of it coming through on tap sort of thing. We don't have to go off to a well and reel it up in a bucket or anything. We've got the convenience of straight out the tap. So water is our, without it we die. So like I've said, spiritually and physically. So let's keep it clean and live. But the Bible refers to water, it's a spiritual tenet of the faith there that water is life, it equals life. And so we are self-destructing when we destroy our own supplies with pollutants. But, that's man's natural tendency because we're born with a sin nature. We just gravitate with what feels easier to do, which is to sin, rather than, good things are hard to come by, whereas unhealthy, bad stuff is very easy to come by. It's very easy to self-destruct. The thing about water is that its tastelessness tends to put people off, and I'm in that boat where I just don't drink enough water. We're supposed to drink apparently 5 glasses a day, but I drink maybe 1 glass a day. We tend to spoil it with additives like tea and coffee, cordial and soda and whatnot, but God's way is best. So recommended checking. I've given my Facebook link to check my album, Hannah's Healthy Blender Treats, where I bought a blender just for $49 and from Australia Post, and have made lots and lots of, look, there's more than 100 fruity smoothies and slushies and slurpees and desserts and whatnot in my album, Hannah's Healthy Blender Treats. So check the issue 17 of Setting Sun to get the Facebook link there. So whether you're a Facebook member or not, you can access that link to check out the different recipes for how to make delicious, and they all look really good. I've purposely made them look good, and just to try to encourage people, instead of opting for alcohol, which is very expensive. Alcohol is biblically permissible, but I abstain because I used to be a drunkard and I just don't like the taste of it. I would much rather a nice sweet fruity smoothie or whatever. So like I pointed out, fruit and veg is very expensive these days, but I go and buy quick sale, stuff that they're getting rid of because it's starting to go, sort of thing, but there's still plenty of good parts in it. So like I've said, all the good parts are still good for dicing into smoothies and slurpees, because it takes several pieces of fruit to make just one smoothie. So if you're paying $9 a kilo for fruit, then that would be a very expensive way to make your treats, your sweet treats, but healthy sweet treats. So I buy quick sale stuff, and I dice up the good bits of banana and mango and strawberries and apples and pears and peaches and stone fruits, and lots and lots and lots of different fruits, the rock melon, honeydew, watermelon. The list is endless. Like I've said, with so much variety, forming new habits is fun. So and I've made budgeting fun. I have found all the ways to cut corners on finance, so that I'm able to really get mileage out of the dollar, and that's by the grace of God. It is amazing what God lines me up to find half price specials, or even less than half price specials, and minimal, fraction of the price type deals, where I get really excellent mileage for the dollar, and on a modest monthly stipend, I'm able to live a real good quality of life, and healthy as, and bright-eyed, bushy-tailed at nearly 60 next year. So it pays to do our part, and then we will benefit from it. There are many, many benefits if we do our part to dig in and get a vision for it. But we have to have a vision, because without a vision, my people perish, said the Lord. Nutrition, I was totally, like I said, I used to live on junk food. Literally, I lived on junk food, just meat pies, a quick hamburger from the milk bar, and Macca's, and just whatever. I just grabbed whatever was quick to go get from the shops, and I never did my own cooking or anything like that. And just chocolate bars and bags of chips, and that was what I lived off, literally, when I was a teenager and in my early 20s. That was what I lived off. And plus substance abuse and alcohol. So it's amazing that God even was able to let me to recover so well. But God will heal us. He is, He made us out of clay, so He can very well heal our inner organs and our lungs. And people have testified where they had cancer, and then suddenly they got no more cancer, and they had really bad lung problems, and then their lungs are healed, and their kidneys, and inner organs and whatnot. And my life is a living witness that our life can be totally turned around. Out of all 8 points, I used to only major in one, and that was rest, but the comatose style. I knocked myself out every day on drugs and alcohol. Now, the only point that I fail on is water, because, like I say, it's tasteless. So I only drink about 1 glass a day when I'm doing my workouts, but otherwise I have cordial and tea and coffee and whatnot. But we can press in and grow in things. So with my testimony, it was where God was developing me one step at a time. So I'm trying to encourage people, don't be overwhelmed by it. Just take the first step, and then God will lead you on to take your next step and your next step. I started taking my first small step to eating right when my dad suggested that I should at least eat breakfast. So he invited me to join him and Mum for porridge every morning, and porridge is very good for reducing cholesterol. So that was my first small step to dieting, or to eating right. At least I was having breakfast. But I got into nutrition where I blew out, like I said, when I was 20, I blew out, got quite fat when I was leaning on food and alcohol to go straight off drugs, and also because I was just eating junk food still. And especially when my sister and I were driving down to Penrith 4 nights a week to do our school certificate equivalent at Tech. So we would eat junk food. We'd go to Macca's before Tech, Macca's after Tech, and I'd buy big, like I'd really have my fill, and before Tech, after Tech, and then at the canteen when we arrived at Tech, we'd go to the canteen, have our snacks. Then in the break between subjects, we'd go to the canteen again, have more. So it was just this perpetual binge eating, and I just blew out. So I started getting after Tech finished, my sister and I went and tried out aerobics, which is a real experience. And actually, I bought a combi van. That was my first step to exercise, was that my combi van was off the road more than on. So I started cycling to work, which I thought would kill me. But once I didn't hop off on a hill, then I never dismounted again. So then once I was cycling, that was when my dad said you should at least eat breakfast. So then I started eating porridge with Dad and Mum each day. And then when I blew out with the leaning on alcohol and food to go straight off drugs, I wound up going to aerobics after Tech finished, but then lost the weight very quickly, and so then became conscious of dieting, started looking into dieting. So that was where I started eating right. But now, like for budgeting's sake, like I say, COVID has doubled prices. Like I've really noticed in the junk mail, things have gone up by double in just 4 years. So I've recommended, instead of opting for a $5 bag of chips, or go check out Coles and Woolies, or Aldi's are even cheaper still, but they don't have reward points and fuel dockets and whatnot. But Coles and Woolies have those points to incentive. But bagged and tub salad meals are really delicious. They've got everything is enclosed, or all your salad, your mixed salad, with a sachet of creamy dressing, and then a sachet of either crunchy noodles or almond flakes or grated cheese or whatever. So all you have to do is mix it up. If you buy it in a tub, then you've even got the tub there to mix it up in. Or you can buy the bagged stuff, take it home and mix it up in a bowl, and instant, you've got your quick fix healthy feed. So instead of paying $5 for a big bag of chips just as a quick fix, you should go check out the salads, and then I'm really hooked on Asian and Mexican, Thai. There's quite a range of different flavors with the different sauces and additives, like the say crunchy noodles or flaked almonds or whatever. So I've presently got a Mexican in the fridge for tomorrow's dinner. So lots to choose from, and just Coles are cheaper still. It's $5.50 per bag of a salad meal, or if you buy two, it's only $9, so $4.50 for two salad meals instead of paying for chips, and instead of paying $4 for a is it $4 there? Yeah, $4 or so, $5 for a 200-gram bag of lollies or high-calorie biscuits. Here it's $5. I've suggested go buy a $4 kilo tub of fruity yogurt, which is good for, like I say, fruity slurpees and smoothies and whatnot in the blender, or just have it with fruit salad in a dessert in a bowl, or even just yogurt on itself, fruity yogurt. And you can freeze it in place of ice cream, which ice cream is very fattening. But that's really delicious, and there's all different flavours, vanilla yogurt, or wild berries, or strawberry, or mango, or peach and mango, and all different passion fruit. And so you don't need to get bored with stocking up on these things, because there's all different flavours. So anyway, that was nutrition. That's point 4 out of the eight principles here, and I better get moving with this. Point 5, exercise. So I've recommended starting out with low impact. If you've let yourself go a long time, just take a walk. Like I say, you don't need to be an Olympian to take a daily walk. And I recommend going to Kmart or Big W for budget style shoes, decent shoes to go walking in. But if you're going to do high impact stuff, like I've recommended weaning your lungs and your heart into sport. If you've let yourself go a long time, you don't want to just give yourself a heart attack or something. Go out, start walking, then up it to cycling, then up it to aerobics and, you know, swimming, and these things will increase your stamina, but just start out gentle with walking is low impact, and gentle, and jogging, you know, you can up it then to jogging. That's what I did. I started out just cycling, and then thought for variety I'll start doing jogging and then walk to work so I didn't get too sweaty, and then jog home from work and cycle to the gym, and, you know, throw in variety so that you don't get stale with it. But anyway, there's cheap enough shoes that came out in Big W. But if you're going to get into aerobics, I got shin splints with aerobics when I first started, because I was just wearing soles that weren't very good. So it pays to invest in the more pricier shoes at sporting stores, but they're very expensive. So I do recommend shopping around, because sports stores will have timely specials. And like one time I got 2 pair of Reeboks for $50, so $25 each per pair of Reeboks. So but you've got to get it there at the right time. But like I say, shop around, and it's worth it if you start getting into it. I mean, if you start getting a vision for it and think, oh yeah, I want to get into this, then don't do yourself an injury. You need to, you know, invest yourself into it. So that's exercise. Also, to if you join a gym, the best way to, most budget way to go about the gym is to take out a 12-month contract. That's the cheapest way to go if you keep up attendance. You know, you need to make it worth your while by going regular. But for 19 years I took out gym memberships, but because I was very obsessed with it. I mean, I really got hooked. Once I got into it, I got hooked on the adrenaline, which it's good to replace. If you're going to quit all the other stuff, you need to fill that void with healthy vices, so healthy habits. So I got hooked on adrenaline with all the jogging and cycling and walking and the gym and fun runs, and even then a couple of triathlons and whatnot, and weight training, and all those sort of things felt really good. So that encouraged me to go there where I wanted to go and do these things and really get into it. But I then, after 19 years gym membership, I actually bought all my own gear, and that paid itself off. The last gym that I was at, which was an excellent gym, I had no complaints about the gym, but just for my own sanctification, because I'm living as a woman in Christian ministry, I wanted to come out of the world and have more and more of a sanctified life, which paid off when COVID shut down. You know, all the COVID lockdown, all the gyms had to shut down, and even the public equipment in parks was all taped off, where you'd get fined if you was caught using any of that equipment. It was total lockdown, if you recall. So my gym equipment, after 1.5 years saved gym membership, which was $550 a year at the last gym that I attended in 2007. 2006. I let my gym membership run out December 2006, and then from January 2007 started working out on all my own home gym equipment, which cost me just under $1,000 for, you know, a good range of equipment where I can cover all my routines, and I'm just improvising with a few things. So then by mid-2008, 1.5 years later, my gym equipment had paid itself off in saved gym membership fees, and so I have worked out totally free since mid-2008, other than buying, you know, shoes for walking and things like that run out, or replacing my exercise bike when a fan belt snaps or whatever. But you know, there's ways to go about these things where you can get, you know, all the savings add up. And like I say, for my modest stipend, I'm able to really have a quality life, but yet without busting the bank, sort of thing. I live debt-free, and I am able to have a good life, a healthy life, and because I'm no longer wasting my money on those self-destructive vices. You know, you think of all that money that builds up that you spend on expensive vices, because, I mean, that's exploiting needy people who crave their cigarettes and their alcohol and their drugs and whatnot, very pricey vices. So if anybody wants to call me a glutton for having so many clothes because I love to go clothes shopping, I would remind them that the money I spend op shopping is only what they would spend on daily junk food. You know, it's very expensive. Buy one quick fast food burger and it's $10 practically. So like I say, you're better off to go buy 2 bags of healthy salad meals for $9 from Coles, and have 2 healthy meals instead of just one burger. And of course, nobody settles for one burger. They've got to have the shake and the fries and another couple of burgers and everything that goes with it. So very expensive to live a sinful life these days. But Next point, point 6, is rest. And like I say, sleep is free, and God gives sleep to his beloved. So I've said about, like communism is a work ethos, and they're all about, you've got to work and this sort of thing, but I've said they can keep that there. Bathurst commie type routine. I'm all for rest. I love the Sabbath, to keep one day, 24 hours for the Lord, and just worshipful, switch off to all my normal routine, and I don't work out on Sabbath, and I take my walks because, that's a meditation thing where I walk, and I don't walk for fitness, I walk to pray. Like I say, I just stroll along, and so I still do that, but I don't work out or do any form of working, like domestics or just work. But it's, if you burn the candle at both ends, it will show, especially in your face and your eyes. Where that fella that I was with, who was dealing cards on the tables, he at one point was spending several days at a time without going home to sleep or anything. He just got really sort of into the gambling, and he was a real muscular Macedonian. He lost a lot of weight and became very haggard. And also, he was only 29, and but he suddenly aged quite a bit at that time, and became very edgy, like quick-tempered sort of thing, in short fuse. So, we need rest to recharge and revitalise, and not get worn down to, like I used to look ragged too when I'd work the 12-hour night shifts, and in one club it was 12 hours per night, and 72 hours a week, 6 nights a week, and I was only 16 when I was doing that, and I'd end up looking haggard because it was, taking its toll on me. Got to have rest, and that's probably one of the reasons why I'm able to age well now, for a woman nearly 60 next year, is that I get to have a beauty nap every day, because I'm autonomous with working from home on the newsletters and whatnot. So rest is very beneficial, and it doesn't cost anything. So temperance is point 7, which, like I said, that's not a popular word in a day and hour when people just want what they want, and they just want to grab and quick, instant society of microwave and push buttons and just, remote controls and just drive through foodies and this sort of thing. But we do need to, we will reap what we sow. If we're going to live that sort of a lifestyle, then we've got this generation of obesity going on. But if you do portion control, that's going to, that takes forming new habits. But like I said, when there's so much variety, you don't need to starve yourself to lose weight, but you just need to make better choices. Cut out the greasy foods and the fatty meats and whatnot. Eat lean meats and load up on leafy greens and legumes and nuts and fruits. And like I said, if you get hungry for a snack, have fruit to tide you over till dinner, or things like sesame snaps or popcorn, or things that are minimally processed, so that you're not taking chemical cocktail into your system, and it's just less fattening. Your body can digest it better, and it feeds your bloodstream better quality nutrients to feed off into your extremities, so you don't get gangrene at the toes like that lady that wound up losing a leg at a time and toes and whatnot. So I've said, if you want to lose, I got told back when I started becoming conscious about diet, I read somewhere, or somebody told me, if you want to lose 3 to 4 kilograms, cut out your daily staples with low fat. So that's like your milk and your margarine, your dairy products, cheese and all that sort of thing. So I did that. I took that advice, and sure enough, I lost 3 to 4 kilograms and kept it off, because I still, to this day, I replaced full cream milk. Like, I used to just buy cartons of milk, and that's expensive. Now milk is very expensive. But if you buy the packets of skim milk, I don't like carton skim milk. It's so watery that it actually looks grey and transparent, and I thought, I couldn't take to that. So I thought, well, I'll buy the packets of skim milk, and then I can make it up to my own taste. And but without the cream sort of thing. So I have a nice blend of skim milk each day for my porridge and my coffee and tea and whatnot. And I limit myself to 3 coffees a day, just one after breakfast, one after lunch, one after dinner. And for your cheeses and butter and margarine and yogurts and that sort of thing, go for light instead of the full cream. And like I say, the yogurt is really excellent for your sweet treats too. So 98% fat free, you can't go past that. So anyway, if you cut out those daily staples, that will make a 3 to 4 kilo difference for you. And I'm blessed to have the grace of God upon me to do fasting for 25 years now. I've been fasting 1 day a week, which detoxifies, and then 3 days a week. I've just come off my last 3-day fast. 3 days a week on a monthly basis, which really gives me a fresh start where I've got a renewed palate to be able to, my taste buds can enjoy simple basic foods again, like porridge. I love my porridge, but some people would find that boring, but I love it because you acquire new taste. If you stick with it, you will get to enjoy these things. So anyway, if you can at all, fast, but do it healthily. And the final point is trust in God. But like I've said, like this is the final point that this health forum discussed on a DVD, and because they're talking about being healthy according to God's plan for mankind. But like I've said, trust in God, you either do or you don't. It's not a method that you can just feign to get results. You either do or you don't trust God. If you're presently an unbeliever, ask God, if you're out there, please reveal yourself to me. If you seek him with a whole heart, you can't be half-baked. You've got to be repentant in your heart. To repent, like I've said in the newsletter, repentance epitomized is to hate what you loved and love what you hate, or abhor what you loved and love what you hated. So things that were yucky to you, health food, like I kind of cared nothing for health back when I was a teen. Now I love healthy food. I love to walk. I love the sunlight. I love my rest. I live a very well-balanced, healthy lifestyle, and it shows. So what you love is what you will go after. So you need to pray, God, give me the vision, to have something to go after. Like I said, I needed a reason to walk after I no longer had my little chihuahua to take for walks. So I felt no reason to walk. So I'd try it once in a while. I'd go out for a stroll, but I had no real reason because I was already doing my gym routine and cycling to the gym and that sort of thing. So I'd conk out on the walking. But one afternoon, I took an hour walk, and I realised when I got home, I just spent that entire hour praying in deep prayer. I'd really entered into the prayer closet and spent that entire hour detached from the world. And I thought, wow, what an opportunity to avail myself to hear from God each day. So that then gave me a vision and a reason. If I'm doing things for God as unto the Lord, it totally is different than if it was just for the, some carnal adventure sort of thing. And because that wears off, the novelty wears off. But when you've got a reason, then God is the reason for giving us purpose for life even. So anyway, if you don't know the Lord right now, ask and start reading the Bible and get hold of, ask people if they know of reliable sources, not New Age junk, because that will lead you astray. I mean, there's only one true maker of heaven and earth, and he is the way, the truth, and the life. So pantheism will take you off into just nature, and, there's all false, lots and lots of false gods to lead you astray. The Bible will steer you right, and then find sound Christian teachings and writings and whatnot that you can find will lead you in the right direction. You shall know them by their fruits, as Jesus said. So, look at what all became of the New Age movement, where we're now, like I say, a generation of slobs and people dying from drugs and the sex, drugs and rock and roll routine and whatnot. It was false prophets, the beast, the false prophet and the dragon. The whole world, Australia, the whole world wandered after the beast, and now they're paying the price for it. We are now reaping the sins of our fathers, because those who were youth back in that legacy of Aleister Crowley, the Satanist, who spawned the sex and drug revolution, they now are retirement age, but their grandkids have really mutated, and it's just going to get worse and worse per generation. But Jesus will be coming soon, because we are clearly in the times of the Gentiles that trample the residue under their feet, where they don't want to know what's good for them. They'd rather just stamp it out. But we are in the feet stage of the image that was the head of gold back in Babylon's day, and now we're down to the feet of iron and miry clay. So time is running out, but while we are here, we do still have an onus on us to exercise good stewardship and wait on the Lord and trust in God. And if you get that much right, then the rest will all fall into place. But with God at the centre of everything, it does give us the key to want to do more unto his glory. But like I said, if you don't trust God at this time, still do press on with the health steps regardless, just for the sake of your own body. And for those who, like I said, smokers should quit smoking and reassess their values, if not for themselves, for those who their demise would affect and their choices affect other people. If you've got a little newborn baby in your house, you don't want that little baby breathing in smoke. Like I say, kiddies, obese before they're even 5 years old. Our choices affect other people, not just ourselves. So, anyway, like I say, I, for one, was called out of darkness, literally called out of darkness into his marvellous light, nocturnal to eternal. If God could do that for me, he can surely do that for anyone. So where there's a will, there's a way. But pray the Lord lead and guide you. And if you're sincere in your heart, where you want to repent, where you will eventually loathe what you used to love, or the unhealthy stuff that was killing you, and you will come to love what you originally abhorred. And you'll even stop trying to trample under feet those who were trying to lead you in the right direction, and realise we're only trying to feed you good manna from high, and Jesus is the bread of life and the water, the pure living water, and you'll come to understand that we mean well for you. So like I say, this is not to try to bang anybody over the head, and it's to try to bring loving counsel to balance the scales after issue 16 was of necessity had to bring a word of correction. But in loving counsel, I wish the household of faith every good thing, and like in 3 John verse 2, my honest wish for the brothers and sisters and those who are more tenderly inclined and feel hurt by what issue 16 said, I would quote what 3 John 2 says: I wish above all that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth. But our body is just a body, it's just a shell, and it doesn't matter really, ultimately, whether we've got all of our limbs or all of our organs intact or whatever. Our soul is the real person, and that's what God is concerned with. So like I say, number one goal should be to trust in God, and then the rest will all start to fall into place from there, because the good shepherd will lead you on one step at a time. But as your soul prospers, you will surely prosper, because God is in the business of healing. So in Jesus' name, I do pray that you would take to consideration, don't just fob this off like those women said, we're just simply not sportswomen. Well, that's a cop-out. That's laziness. It's not just that we're not sportswomen, it's laziness, and you need to get over that. You need to take the step to not be passive, because otherwise, right here and now, you might be getting away with it. But in 10 years can make a big difference, 20 years can make a big difference. If you had the foresight to see yourself on a walking frame, heaving and blown out like a whale, would you continue, or would you try to take a stand now? So I'm trying to warn you, heed the warning signs, listen, and take the steps now while you're still able, and where it's not such a hard deal. Like I say, never too late to start, but much easier if you get started sooner rather than later. So anyway, I leave it with you. The onus is on you. As per the watchman's duty of Ezekiel chapter 33, I have sounded the warning. So it's on your head and on your shoulders now what you do with that. You can either scorn me, or you can realise I'm just trying to bring you good, beneficial information that certainly benefited me. Like I said, it worked for me alrighty. So anyway, I'll leave it with you. Amen.